This video is presented by Bookie AG. What's up, guys? Here are my predictions for UFC 250 happening this Saturday. What was originally a not great card turned out to actually be pretty decent. Say it's a pay-per-view worthy card, I don't know, but there's some really good fights on here, with most of them being in the main card. I mean, you do have guys like Herbert Burns starting the event. You got Alonzo Menafield, who's a great prospect in the light heavyweight division. Chase Hooper headlining the prelims is going to be interesting. And even when I look at Sean O'Malley versus Eddie Wineland, I always love talking about Sean O'Malley, but man, they got to raise his competition level, in my opinion. I do expect him to handily win that fight. But ultimately, we're going to go right to the big fights. And the man who should be fighting for the bantamweight title is going to be putting his status on the line in Aljamain Sterling versus Corey Sandhagen. An amazing fight. These two would have fought eventually, even if Aljamain won the belt. If he went on and fought for the belt and lost, these two guys I think eventually would have fought each other. And no matter what, it's going to be an exciting fight. Aljamain's getting way better with his striking. Sandhagen's going to have the overall striking advantage. He's much more fluid. He's way smoother with his strikes. His footwork is going to cause so many problems, not only for the strikes of Sterling to get through, even the kicks, but the takedowns, which is the most important thing going for Sterling, might get stifled. He doesn't explode like a traditional freestyle wrestler or anything like that. He almost takes like a Khabib route where he goes for that low single and tries to drive it to the cage, but his takedowns in general aren't the strongest. Even though Corey Sandhagen doesn't have good takedown defense, he might be able to stuff a few just because of his footwork, right? When Sterling's gonna shoot, he's gonna crash into the ground before he can drive it anywhere, and that's gonna be a very hard thing to do against a guy who's constantly moving around and very good at angling off sharply. But ultimately, Aljamain's jab is actually getting better. He's switching stances a lot, but he's still going to that normal thing where he's throwing a bunch of kicks. So much activity with the kicks, it can prove to be useful because Sandhagen doesn't necessarily check or block kicks too much. He just tries to move around them. Sterling is a bit too active, in my opinion. There's so much activity where it doesn't allow him to calculate too much, right? He's not gauging the distance all the time, and that is why when he's throwing these kicks, you tend to see him get a little bit too close and get caught, or have to drastically move his head away because he realizes, oh man, I'm a bit too close on this guy. And fighting a guy like Corey Sandhagen, who's gonna be longer than him, given his 5'11" height, it's gonna put Sterling in a different space that he's used to fighting, right? Because he's usually longer than everybody he fights, and he's able to get away with the kicks and able to get away from the long stretched out punches. It's not gonna be the same against Sandhagen. Sandhagen's gonna make him pay for a bunch of that. So ultimately, it's all gonna come down to, can Sterling get to that single leg? Can he get it to the ground eventually? It's going to be very tough. If he can do that, if he can eventually drive it to the cage, drag it to the ground, even pull guards, something like that, he has a major advantage when it goes to the ground. So ultimately, my prediction for this fight, it's close because as soon as it gets to the ground, the fight changes for Sterling. The momentum swings right to his side. But I'm going to go with Corey Sandhagen, given his footwork, given his movement, far better striking, more power, faster, and the angles he works with is going to stifle a lot of what Sterling's going to go for. So I'm going to go with Corey Sandhagen. I'm going to go by a decision win. I think he's going to win 2 rounds out of the 3. Third round, where Sandhagen starts to slow down, I see Sterling start to dominate there. If this is a 5-round fight, I'd probably side with Aljamain Sterling, to be honest, because he's going to spend more time figuring out the puzzle than succeeding with his takedowns. And the MyBookie betting lines actually has this as a pick'em fight. I can agree with that. It's such a good technical fight. I think these two are going to be at the top of the division for a pretty long time. And then we go to the co-main event, Rafael Santee versus Cody Garbrandt. So Cody Garbrandt's coming back. He's fighting a vet in the game, one of the most experienced bantamweights of all time. Fought the who's who from Marlon Moraes a couple times, to TJ Dillashaw, to Jorge Masvidal. People don't even know that. Santee has defeated Jorge Masvidal way back in the day. You know, so it shows his ability to handle bigger men, but he's going to have a weight advantage over Cody Garbrandt, who he states that he can fight at 125. He comes into that cage 11 pounds less than a Santee, while 142 pounds in the cage is extremely low, and it's shocking, to be honest, because he looks like a pretty good sized bantamweight, and it seems like strength doesn't really get to him, right? There's no difference in strength between him and his opponents. Santee's a pretty strong guy. He's very technical, and he's very good at winning on points. He's very good at adding points throughout the fight. He knows how to shut down the opponent's game. He's kind of one of those guys like a Rory McDonald, where it's hard to get through his defense, and with his defense he's able to pick at you and just beat you point by point, and it is rather frustrating for his opponents. And Santee has really good counter shots. He has a very good pullback right straight and an extremely well-timed check left hook, and those are really good weapons against a shorter puncher and Cody Garbrandt, who doesn't extend his punches that much, and he just doesn't have a long reach in general. So Santee, even being a little bit shorter, he's gonna punch with more extension, and with that extension he's gonna be able to counter from a longer distance, and that can get Cody right into his war mentality. With Cody Garbrandt, a guy who actually pushes it, rolls with dangerous intentions, has some of the biggest power in the entire division, and when he's on point, when he's there mentally, he has probably the best boxing in the entire division, with amazing wrestling skills as well. He has never been taken down in the UFC, and that's going to be tested against the Santee. With all of that involved, you know, with the speed in his punches and the ability to put together combinations and pepper out that jab to get a Santee to potentially throw something back at him, throw out some light kicks if the Santee's not doing anything to him. You know, if he could take almost like what Marlon Rice did to a Santee and apply it with more speed, Cody Garbrandt has a real good path of winning this fight. But the thing that deters Cody all the time, and he becomes such a hard guy to count on or bet on or predict that he's gonna win, is the fact that he changes inside the fight. When he gets hit, he goes into his war-hungry mentality, but he's not made to go to war. So it's a conflicting aspect of his game. He gets so less technical, and his chin is not the best. He gets caught and he gets dropped. A Santee hits him clean once, it can drop Cody Garbrandt. Cody Garbrandt has to stay calm and confident. Even if he gets hit, he cannot get into that mentality, but that's the thing, man. That's just who he is. So eventually, if he gets hit hard, I see Cody throwing technique out the window, throwing game plan out the window, and marching at a Santee with that right hand. And I can see a Santee dropping him, finishing him off. So that's why it makes this fight very hard to pick. And you know what? Due to that aspect, and also the fact that Santee is extremely technical and very capable of just winning the fight, even if Cody is on point the entire time, I gotta go with Rafa Santee. It's hard to break bad habits, and if Cody does it, we're gonna see a two-time champion, but I just don't see it happening. I see him losing this fight as well. I think it's gonna be a decision win for Santee. I think Cody's gonna win the first round. Santee's gonna catch him in the second, drop him maybe once or twice in that round, get into the third, maybe take it to the ground due to a tired Cody Garbrandt from the damage he took in the second, and Santee taking that round as well, winning a decision. And my bookie betting lines actually have Cody Garbrandt as a slight favorite, -155. I can absolutely see that. I can absolutely see him win, right? It's just he becomes a liability in a fight that it tends to make people think he just can't keep it calm and can't keep it calculated enough to display his skills, and he gets caught in a brawl. That is the reason I'm going to go with Santee, even though I do think Cody has the absolute skills to win the fight. And then we go to the main event, Amanda Nunes versus Felicia Spencer. I will say this right off the bat. I'm going to get right into the technical part of it. People are not giving Felicia Spencer enough credit. They're not giving her enough chance. The betting lines have Amanda Nunes as a -600 to the +400 Felicia Spencer. That is outrageous. I understand Nunez is a far better striker. She's more technical and she's faster, but she has a couple weaknesses, but one major one is the fact that she slows down. Specifically, when people push the pace against her, just like Felicia does. Felicia went against Chris Cyborg. Chris Cyborg landed bombs and never even rocked her. We know Spencer has the chin to take the punches of Nunez more so than anybody else. And because of that, combined with her pressure of her wrestling and jiu-jitsu, it's gonna push Nunez far harder than anybody has done in previous years. Because of that factor alone, the fact that Nunez is going to slow down after that third round, and Spencer may be in the fight and she doesn't slow down, Felicia Spencer can absolutely get a finish or even win a decision after that third round is over. Get it to the ground, start landing ground and pound shots, start to make it seem like almost what Cat Zingano did to Amanda Nunes, but at a higher level and being a bigger fighter. People have to know that it's a live thing. It's an absolute high possibility that Spencer starts to put it on Nunez after the third round. It just depends how Nunez is going to approach the fight, and Nunez is smart. She has probably the best camp behind her. So I know that they know that Nunez should not expend her energy that much and drill it in her that Spencer's going to come at her. She's going to pressure. She's going to go for takedowns constantly. She's going to get in the clinch and make it dirty. Nunez has to be calm and let the fight play out. And for the first few rounds, don't do anything to chase the knockout. You know, just land punches, use the reach, use that jab. The jab has to be the biggest weapon for Nunez because it will hold off a lot of the pressure. When an opponent doesn't parry jabs like Spencer doesn't, it's very easy to just pepper jabs from that long range and never let him to get in close or just stall the aggression. That's what Nunez has to do here. Do not throw leg kicks. Don't throw body kicks. Do not throw the front kick to the body that she loves to do. Jab, straight right hand, if it's an absolute certain it will land. That is exactly how Nunez has to fight this fight, just so she can last all rounds, and the fact that she knows that Spencer has a chin on her, right? Just like the Diaz brothers. You don't go after the Diaz brothers to knock them out. You'll lose the fight if you try to knock them out because you waste all your energy and they just take all of it and come back at you. It just seems like they're fighting Nate Diaz or Nick Diaz, but they're back to round 1 because they don't gas out, and they're picking up the pace on you as you're gassing out. The same thing with Felicia Spencer here, right? Nunez has everything over Spencer in the striking. There's not really anything to go over when it comes to that. The leg kicks have to be abandoned. Do not throw leg kicks, and don't throw body kicks. If she starts landing body kicks and leg kicks and Spencer's not taking it to the ground, then she has this in the bag. But the fact that Spencer's going to be pressuring forward, most likely, the leg kicks are just going to be naturally hard to go for. It's going to get Nunez off balance and potentially get taken down or pushed to the cage. Even in the first round, that can happen. And if that happens in the first round, if Nunez gets taken down in the first round, this swings to Felicia Spencer's side so hard, it's going to be very hard to see Nunez win the fight. Because even though Nunez is very capable on the ground, she's not as good off her back, and Felicia Spencer is bigger. So Felicia Spencer on top of Nunez is not going to be comfortable. And the fact that she's such a high-level grappler, even if Nunez is a little bit more technical, I think Spencer's top game is better than Nunez's bottom game. Unless Nunez shows something different that we've never seen before, which is always a thing in fights. I see Spencer dominating if she takes Nunez to the ground, and I have a very strong feeling that there's going to be something special about this fight that nobody expected. So my prediction for this fight, with all that said, I am still going to go with Amanda Nunes. The main thing I'm going for Nunez, of course her striking is better, but it's her footwork. She's very elusive when she wants to be, and that's going to be very hard for Felicia Spencer to gauge because she doesn't necessarily cut opponents off that well. Spencer's faster than she looks, and she engages far more than people think, right? She threw Superman punches at Chris Cyborg moving forward. Like, she doesn't care. But I think those kind of shots are not going to work the same against Amanda Nunes, who's a lot more elusive than Cyborg. Cyborg's a lot more plodding and easier to track down. And with that jab of Amanda Nunes, one of the best jabs in women's MMA, it's going to be very hard for Felicia Spencer to get in and not get peppered up. So due to those, I'm going to go with Amanda Nunes, and I am actually going to go by a decision win. I will not be shocked at a knockout. I absolutely won't, but I just have a feeling it's probably going to go a decision. But I can absolutely see Felicia Spencer winning this fight. Absolutely. That is not out of the cards. And the fact that she's such a big underdog, man, if I was a betting person, you know, you can't lose much with that, you know? You can't lose much at a plus 400. And due to some of the crazy odds on this card, MyBookie.ag is giving you a huge opportunity this weekend. They have the best sportsbook and some of the best odds you're going to see. They have so many ways for you to win. From submissions to knockouts to decisions to draws to how many rounds you think it's going to go. There's so many ways to bet on than just your generic picking a fighter sort of thing. For an example, when you go into Felicia Spencer and Amanda Nunes, which has some crazy lines on it, the specifics of finishes are even more staggering. For an example, Felicia Spencer winning by submission, it's a plus 1,000. You know, her winning by decision is a plus 1,100. That is absolutely insane. Those are her ways of winning, and she has a much better chance of winning than people give it. Amanda Nunes, you know, you have her by decision, that's a plus 350. That's a pretty big one as well. And if you're one of those people that can somehow predict draws, we got a plus 5,000. If you think a 10-8 round is eventually going to happen for Felicia in like the 4th round, and the 5th round is going to be a 10-9 or something, and it evens the fight, makes it a draw, there you go, you know? And sometimes just going by this is way more rewarding. And you can also try a parlay, if that's more of your liking, where you like to bet a little and possibly win a lot. Just pick a lineup of fighters that you think are going to win, and by doing that, you can multiply your winnings. All you got to do is go to mybookie.ag and sign up for the deposit bonus. That's right. Use the promo code WEASEL. That's promo code WEASLE. And by signing up, you get a free deposit bonus where MyBookie will match your first deposit halfway all the way up to $1,000. Sign up with mybookie.ag today, where you bet, you win, and when you win, you get paid. And looking at the betting odds, man, there's a lot of big underdogs like Brian Kelleher, who just won not too long ago. I do think Cody's gonna win, but Cody being almost a 3-1 favorite is staggering. They are not that far apart. Cody has lost a couple. He's very competitive and very technical everywhere it is, but Brian Kelleher seems to be more powerful and more dangerous on the ground. Chase Hooper is a pretty big favorite, but Alex Caceres has the experience advantage, and they are both good on the ground. I'll say Caceres is a much better striker, though. I don't know, man. I can see Caceres win that fight as well. And everything else I pretty much agree with. So I hope you guys enjoyed the predictions, and if you did, make sure to give a thumbs up. If you enjoyed my content, make sure to subscribe. I'll see you guys in the podcast tomorrow.